The pacing in the hay maze is starting to get to me. It has this slow, steady rhythm to it that creeps into you. At first, it's so subtle that you don't notice it, but when you finally do, it's like you can't stop noticing it. It won't leave you alone. I've been working at S'more Fun Park for almost 4 weeks. Night security at a small amusement park is easy work, especially when you aren't located in a big city. No one wants to drive out to some small town just so they can break into a subpar amusement park. I do my rounds, watch the cameras, and drink a lot of coffee. We're hitting October, so management decided it would be a good idea to set up a hay maze for the Halloween spirit. I didn't have to do any of the heavy lifting, but it did add a change up to my routine. I was in charge of the nighttime security of the hay maze. I would sit atop a tall watchtower and blast a big spotlight on the maze to make sure no one was hanging around or hiding in there. Not sure why they would anyway, but hey, you just never know. During the first couple weeks, I didn't notice anything majorly weird. I caught one couple thinking it'd be cute to have sex in the hay maze after it was closed. One blast of the spotlight, and they were hightailing it over the hay bale walls and off into the woods. I didn't even bother calling the cops. Figured the embarrassment was punishment enough. I'm all for sex, but keep your genitals out of my hay maze. Sometime during the 3rd week, I started hearing the pacing. As soon as I could tell they were footsteps, I ran over to the watchtower and threw on the spotlight. I ran the spotlight up and down every pathway but saw nothing. Whoever was in there must have heard me and run off. Good. The fewer confrontations, the better. The next night, it was the same deal. Heard the footsteps, threw on the spotlight, and nothing. Night after night, same thing. The 4th night, I was ready. I waited in the watchtower, hand on the spotlight's lever, waiting. The second I heard the footsteps, I threw on the switch and powered up the light. I caught the bastard in my beam. When I hit him, he froze mid-step. I could tell right off the bat that he was a giant of a man, much taller than I was. His clothes looked rough, some flappy red shirt covered in stains, and threadbare blue pants. It seemed like the guy was maybe a little too into the Halloween spirit, wearing a skull mask that covered his entire head. After pausing for a moment, the guy began walking again. He was almost to the wall of a dead end. When he reached it, he bumped into it softly, turned around, and started walking back the other way. When he turned, I could see the front of his face. On his skull mask, he had painted on 2 black circles like large eyes and a mouth painted on in black that appeared hurriedly done. The creep kept walking back and forth, pinballing off of the walls at each end. It seemed as though he didn't care about the light at all. Clearly, something was off with this guy. "Hey, buddy," I yelled from the watchtower. "You need to clear out. Come back tomorrow when we're open." He didn't react. "Hey, asshole," I yelled. "Move along." He kept pacing, not even so much as a hesitation. S'more Fun Park's policy is to try to shoo off trespassers first, to avoid any legal weirdness. So, leaving the spotlight on, I headed down to the hay maze. I pulled out the nightstick, grabbed my flashlight, and traversed the labyrinth. Hustling in, I could still hear the steady footfalls. The psycho still hadn't stopped his pacing. Sneaking to the edge of the intersection where my path met the one that he was on, I waited until his footsteps sounded farther away and stepped into his path. I put the beam of my flashlight on his back and he froze in place. He quickly pivoted on his foot and turned around to face me. I opened my mouth to yell at him, but my voice was caught in my throat and couldn't escape. The skull mask he was wearing looked so real, so vividly detailed, that I couldn't help holding my breath in horror as I stared at it. The empty eye sockets of the skull looked deep, like they went in deeper than they should be able to on a mask. He began walking towards me. I wanted to run, I really did, but my body wouldn't move. It was like this giant man in his horrifying outfit had some disturbing, hypnotic magnetism to him. I was frozen in place. As he walked closer, I came to yet another shocking conclusion. He wasn't wearing a mask. The man's skull was on full display, and somehow he was still alive. I screamed. As he came within a few feet of me, I found myself staring up into his face. He looked down at me and smiled. Hands reaching out, he grabbed the sides of my head and pulled me closer. The jaw of his skull hinged open, yawning wide as he lowered his face towards mine. I was completely frozen in terror. I could feel the teeth of his skull begin to press into the skin of my cheek, and I began to scream again. As the pressure increased, my cheek was pushed past its limit and split, allowing the teeth to pierce my flesh. As the skull tore off the first chunk of my face, my screams became gurgles. The last thing I saw was the skull chewing a wad of my face. I woke up in my bed. It was mid-afternoon when I usually woke up from my shift. I could tell immediately that something was wrong. My face felt stiff. My head didn't lay on my pillow right. I won't touch my face. I won't look in a mirror. I know that monster ate my face and somehow I'm still alive, but I can't see it myself. That would shatter me, and I need to keep it together until I can get some food in me. I'm absolutely starving, and I need some fresh meat. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and smash that like button to get notified every time I upload a new video. You can also check out some more of my animated horror stories right here.